Battlefield 6 Season 2 has been out for a few days now. It's time to discuss the patch notes and what these changes actually did. The movement, the spotting, the gun changes. Is it better? Is the game better after Season 2? And the first thing that I want to get into is the one thing that many people are complaining about, and that is in-world spotting. In-world spotting has been reduced from 75 meters to 54 meters. Before, if you shot with any muzzle attachment that was not a flash hider or a suppressor, you would have the little Dorito icon over your head at any range within 75 meters. That has been reduced to 54. This change is funny and good at the same time, because there were plenty of people complaining about the Doritos. I personally don't like them, but there were plenty of people complaining about the Doritos. Oh my God, every time I shoot, I get shot because they see me. Now it's changed to, oh my God, there's no Doritos, I can't see them, I'm dead. So the complaint is just gonna be complaining, man. There's a lot of people out there that are just gonna complain no matter what. I personally think that this change is good. I just happen to see it exacerbated based on this context and this situation. We've had a couple days to sit back and look at it. Contaminated has longer engagement ranges. What does that mean? It means that you're going to be fighting people at a further distance. A lot of the fighting, especially in Breakthrough, has extended to about 40 to 70 meters, which means about half of the engagements you're not going to see the enemy. And this map has loads of cover, has loads of places to hide in, has loads of elevation, so you're not going to see people as well, and they don't self-spot as much. So it's a problem that is not really a problem. It's just kind of been created based on the combination of a larger map and having the in-world spotting reduced. But if you go back to another map like Siege of Cairo, you're going to engage most people at less than about 50 meters, unless you're kind of like across the street around the C objective and Conquest. So in reality, on other maps, it's not that affected, and it doesn't seem as pronounced as it does in this one particular situation, which is kind of the reason why I like to sit back instead of read patch notes and let things play out. In this map, it is a lot more difficult to see people. You have trees to hide behind, you have elevation, you have hills, and you're at a further distance. So you do have to change your play style a bit. You cannot be as run and gun with this new reduction in in-world spotting. You have to take a second and actually look at your enemies, look through the trees, look for movement, and then progress forward. Run and gun is going to be a lot more difficult, and that's perfectly okay. That's a good thing. I did not like the in-world spotting. I'm perfectly okay with it being based on engagement. If I'm looking at you, if I'm shooting at you, then you are spotted. If I manually spot you, then you're spotted. And if your recon spots you, then you're spotted. That's perfectly a-okay, because that's me making an active effort to show my team where you are, not me just shooting and now, hey, everyone knows where I am because I shot, right? On minimap, that's perfectly okay. You should always pop up on the minimap. But in-world spotting is what we're referring to. And in-world spotting for suppressors hasn't really been affected at all. You just happen to show up on a minimap at 21 meters instead of 15 meters. I don't think that this was the way to go. I definitely think that reducing the in-world spotting range has the effect. And we'll talk about it in a second, because it makes certain attachments a lot more usable now. But the suppressor having extended the minimap range, it is what it is, right? You're just going to be on the minimap. So a lot of the times objectives and objective areas are within that. So if you're in an objective and you're firing at some people, just know that you're there, right? You're not going to be hidden on the minimap anymore. But in reality, I think that the in-world spotting is what caused the suppressors to be overpowered. I don't think the suppressors themselves are overpowered. I definitely just think that it was the in-world spotting. But with the reduction of the range, we get attachments like the compensated brake. The compensated brake isn't necessarily for reducing recoil. If you just hang on the trigger and shoot, your recoil will still shoot up. You do have to control it. But what the compensated brake does is it makes bursts a lot tighter. Your recoil buildup over 2 or 3 bullets is a lot less with the compensated brake, and it recovers a lot faster from that recoil. Meaning, you can tap fire and burst fire at a distance. Before, you were always basically on the minimap with a compensated brake, so you were giving away your position. Now, if you play it correctly and you stay outside of the objective area, outside of that range, you can use the compensated break, get its benefits, and not get its drawback. And that is something that you're going to see a lot more of. For all of you guys that like to sit back and watch the objective area, maybe DMR guys, or maybe just people that are a little bit better at long ranges with assault rifles, you're going to be able to use that compensated break and get a benefit from it, man. That's awesome. In-world spotting changes, in my eyes, great freaking job. The map, I have an entire video on the map itself. I will go ahead and link it in the top corner here, but I'm enjoying the map, I'm enjoying the modes, I'm enjoying the elevation, I'm enjoying the foliage, the cover, the cave, the interior space, the exterior space. This is a battlefield map. It has tight quarters, long ranges, lots of foliage, verticality like crazy, because if you go up in the B objective during Conquest, I mean, it's literally an uphill battle. I've already made a whole video about the map. Check it out if you want to get my thoughts on it. But overall, I like it, I enjoy it. The only thing that I don't like about the new map is it doesn't have modes. There's no rush, no team deathmatch, no King of the Hill. The smaller modes, TDM, Dom, and King of the Hill, I don't really care about, but this map needs to have rush. Rush is part of Battlefield. Rush is fun, actually, in Battlefield 6. And the reason I say actually is because with Breakthrough, they've added more tanks and they're smaller maps. So the game mode has sped up a lot. Breakthrough, you used to be able to take your time, come around the edges, push the enemies back. They would take a little bit of time to run from their spawn and come forward. So the pacing of Breakthrough has increased drastically, especially with tanks and the sizing. Rush now serves a similar purpose to what Breakthrough did in the fact that the gameplay is a little bit slower, right? You have Escalation, which is faster, Conquest, which is a little bit slower. Now you have Breakthrough, which is a little bit faster objective based, and now Rush is a little bit slower. For all you guys that haven't tried Rush in Battlefield 6, give it a shot. Yes, there's a lot less people, there's not 32 players on a team, but it is a slower pace, a more predictable pace, because you have to spawn in from spawn or spawn beacons. So your pacing is a little bit slower. It gives older Breakthrough vibes. This map needs to have Rush. Movement. Sliding has been reduced to be more realistic. You're going to have your negative Nancy that's going to complain always, no matter what you do. And you guys need to understand that that's not for everyone. I fully understand the argument of some people, the skill and yada yada. If you can slide faster than you can in real life, I believe that it's overpowered. The way that it was before, it was a linear slide. You start sliding and you basically don't slow down and then you just stop. All they've done is change that curve. So as you initially start sliding, you go a little bit faster, and the longer you slide, the slower you get. That's exactly how it works. That's exactly how sliding works in real life. It doesn't change the gameplay. You can still slide about the same distance. I wasn't able to discern a big noticeable difference. And you can still slide and jump and do whatever you need to do. So all of the options are still there. It's just the timing is a little bit different. But if you're sliding away from someone, or you move and you try to get behind cover, the initial part of that slide still gives you a good burst. You may not be able to get as far as fast, meaning if you're running, that's still the faster option. Where previously you could literally run, slide, run, and you wouldn't slow down. You would not change pace. Now you can slide out of the way of things and still get behind objects and still get into cover, but you lose your pace. I mean, when you slide, you literally should move slower than when you run, and that was not the case before, and it is now. I think it's a worthwhile upgrade. I don't think it's that bad. I'm not over here sliding, jumping, bouncing off of walls. This isn't Call of Duty. Take your time, slide under cover if you're getting shot. You just need it for a small, quick movement. It's not really to outgun someone with it. Can you? Yes, but that's not really the purpose of it, and I think it's more in line with what it should be. I think sliding is great. They've added a new statistics screen. I've been looking for this. I still don't have what I'm looking for, but they have all of the new stats in terms of game modes, KDs, bot kills, all that stuff is on here. That is great. The one thing that I was actually looking for, which they don't have, is the weapon statistics specifically. Which guns are you more accurate with? Which guns have you gotten better kills in certain ranges with? What guns have certain KDs? What guns do certain things? So there was on previous games a way to see all of this and see which statistics work better. Which guns are you more accurate with? Which guns do you have more kills with? And that is still not there. I do believe that this is something that they're going to bring in later on over time. But at the end of the day, it's a live service game, so you're going to get drip fed stuff. So now we have this. Eventually, we will have the full weapons that should have been there in the first place. Audio changes. Audio changes are not drastic. From what I've noticed from me playing, what has happened is that now directionality in terms of vertical direction, up and down, is a lot more clearly discerned. Before, there were good sounds, good audio sounds, but only left and right. If you had an enemy on a second floor above you, it sounded like they were right next to you, which is the problem. It didn't sound like they were above you and on top of you. It sounded like they were literally to your left or your right. And then if someone else was on the same floor, a teammate, then you would think that that person was there, completely ignore the enemy, and you wouldn't be able to discern verticality. That was the problem with the audio, was verticality, not distance. Now you can tell verticality. I found myself looking up at the rocks playing Contaminated in the first section of Breakthrough, and I could tell that someone was above me on the rocks. They were not on the other side, as it would have sounded like before, but now you can tell that someone's above you. Not directly above you. I will say that. It's kind of hard to tell when someone's directly above you, but you do get a much better perspective of up and down, which is really, really good. I never had any complaints about the audio in terms of the quality of it, what sounds were made, how they were made, if someone was walking on metal, if someone was walking on wood, dirt. None of that stuff actually was a problem here, but verticality was. So you yourself had to discern if someone was above you and below you based on sound in the minimap. Now you can simply just hear it. So I think this has gone a long way. Like I said, you still can't tell if someone's directly above you, but it's not bad. So it's definitely better. I will do another video in terms of gun recoil changes that are more specific to each gun, but in reality, the total weapon balancing, I don't think that anything is overly upsetting. I did use most of the guns in terms of what's gotten bumped and what's gotten nerfed. I will say that the biggest nerf, or the biggest surprising nerf, I guess, would be the SCW-10. And in reality, it's more in line with what it should have been. Before, it was overpowered because it was an SMG with the recoil of an SMG, but it had the power or the damage of an AR. ARs have a little bit more recoil and they're a little bit more powerful. The SCW-10 was as beamy as an SMG, but as powerful as an AR, which is why it was really good. Now it actually has a little bit more recoil buildup. The same thing with the SG553. It has just a little bit more recoil as you're firing, but burst firing controls the recoil very, very well. And if you're able to just be better, you can still control the recoil. It's not crazy, but it will cause you to miss one or two extra shots. So it could cost you a long fight. If you are in a fight with an AR, the AR will be more accurate at, let's say, 50 plus meters, but in reality, you can still use it. You just have to be a little bit more aware of it and a little bit more in control. For the other guns, most of them have gotten recoil reductions. Let's just go ahead and continue with the SMGs. The PW5 and the SGX got increased recoil, similar to the SCW-10. So you're going to get a little bit stronger of an initial shot off with them. So you're going to get a little bit bigger jump. And if you're full autoing, you get a little bit more recoil buildup with these. The assault rifles, the B36, the L85, the M433, and the SOAR 556 reduce recoil randomness. What you're going to notice on these guns, and what I noticed before, is all of these guns, if you held them full auto, they would have their tendency either up to the right or up to the left. Let's say M433, which is up to the right. You would be controlling the recoil up to the right by going down to the left, and at some point it would have a little bit of randomness to where it would go to the left and you'd have to pull back to the right. That is gone. So it has its recoil pattern, and the randomness is not as drastic. So if you ever notice you're pulling and you're aiming and you're right on center and then it starts drifting in the direction where you were pulling it, that is significantly reduced. They have their pattern, they have their randomness, but it's less pronounced and it causes less missed shots based on that actual randomness, which is really good. The same thing with the LMGs. So overall, the weapon balance, I can say that it's not very, very impactful, but it's good in the right way. And we'll talk about this a little bit further detail when I have the guns in front of me and we're going to be talking about them actually using them. overall changes for Season 2. There was a bunch of patch notes, a bunch of fluidity things in the menus and the vehicles and the weapons. I genuinely believe Season 2 did it correctly. I do understand that more maps means a larger quantity of maps during the season. Apparently Battlefield feels that more maps is just adding a map every season, which lends me to think, were they planning on not adding a map in a season, which is absolutely crazy. But a higher quantity of maps. If we can get 3 maps a season, I think that that is more than enough, because there are more seasons than DLC packs. So if they do 3 maps a season, I believe that we will end up with the same amount or more maps over the course of the life of the game. That's the only thing that's really needed. But I think that Contaminated is an amazing map. I think they did a great job. I think the changes were subtle yet impactful. Nothing overly dramatic, nothing game-breaking, nothing game-changing, but it does cause for a need to relearn or rethink the way you do certain things. Overall, the Season 2 patch is solid. Thank you guys for making it this far. I greatly appreciate you. You guys are the real ones. If for any reason you have any questions, complaints, concerns, or anything that you would like to comment, leave it down below. Let me know. Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm crazy? Are these negative Nancys actually freaking right? Is everything broken no matter how well they do it? Or is there a truth somewhere in the middle where everything is reasonable for the most part, which is usually where I land? Appreciate you guys. Thank you. See you on the next one.